We're going to move right along, and I'm going to invite Mike Lundstrom to join us. Mike is the president of the Hermantown Area Chamber of Commerce. But more important than that, he was one of the stewards, one of the founding stewards of Advanced Hermantown. And so from day one, he was practicing what Jim's been preaching here tonight, and he's going to take you through a process that Hermantown went through, and not that long ago, and that's the important thing here too. Jim's had 10 years under his belt with Bemidji Leeds, and there's a lot of good things happening. Advanced Hermantown's a little younger, but you're going to see what's happening in Hermantown. So, Mike, there you go.
Thank you. Okay, I made a note when I was sitting up at the table because this is the first presentation I've done like this. And the note said, never ever follow the good doctor again. This guy a speaker or what? He's great. All right, I want you to do me a favor. It's a long night. Stand up, count to 10, and sit down. Stand up. 1, 2, 3, 4. Shake it. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Sit down. Just a power to have you stand up and sit down is worth it. All right, I'm from Hermantown. We have been through the process. If you think about Bemidji, they are the prototype. They are the graduate school. We're kind of like toddlers in elementary. We're walking, we're crawling, we're starting to run. So what I'm going to be presenting to you today is a little bit of more nuts and bolts and some of the things we've been through over the last 4 years. Now, every community is different. What Bemidji needed, what Hermantown needed, what your area needs, they're all different. So what I want you to focus on tonight is the process and the results, and think of it in terms of your region. I've got to frame it up a little bit so you understand. Hermantown, as most of you know, is right next to Duluth. It's a classical suburb is what it is. But it was a township up until 1974. We have 35 square miles of land. You see that corner up there? Duluth stole that from us. That's the airport. So it's not 36 square miles, it's 35. The city is still set up like a township. We do not have a downtown. We don't have a grocery store. It's really quite fragmented in the way it's set up and has been for years. You can see the location next to Duluth. We love Duluth. It's a great asset to have next to us. We're competitive, just like we are with our neighbors, but that's a good thing to be competitive. So, what started us on this trail that you're on now is in 2009. Our school had a bond referendum, and it bombed big time. 18% of the vote was positive on that referendum. We recognized there was a need at the school, but the process in trying to communicate and come to a solution was broken. It wasn't working. So that was the point where we came together and we had a conversation with Randy and the good folks from Bemidji Leeds and said, we need help. We're not going to be able to do this ourselves. We need a third party to come in and help facilitate this process. And that's what we did. We had a choice, just like all of us have a choice, and just like the doctor was saying. Are we optimists or are we pessimists? This is a whole different perspective if you think of it awful, but I suspect almost everybody here is an optimist. Otherwise, why would you be here? You have some hope for the future? You think it's going to be better? You think it can be better? And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the foundation of a steward. Optimists, pessimists? What we are looking for is people who are opportunists, who can take that optimism and move it into action. Because a dream is great, but until the road or the tire hits the road, it doesn't mean anything. It's just a dream. Perspective is everything as you approach the challenges that you have in this area. I'll check to find this house in those pictures, by the way. It's all about perspective. All right, so we met as a community, and when I say we met, there was 3 stakeholder groups. It was the chamber, the city, and the chamber, the city, and I can do this, and the school system. The three of us sat down and said, we've got to do something about this. We're a fragmented community. It's not that we weren't working together, but we just, I mean, it's not like we didn't get along, we just weren't working together. We had to figure it out. And we pulled some people together, we discussed it, we brought in the good folks from Bemidji Leeds and Randy, and we formed Advanced Hermantown. We had this group meeting just like you, but guess what? We had about half the amount of people you have. This is outstanding, I think, that you have this kind of representation. It shows that you care about what's going on. We had the press release, we put the message out, we tried to get as many people as possible, and we had a good group of people. It's not always about quantity, it's about the people that are dedicated. And we had a few meetings to decide what we were going to do. This process is going to be a lot of sit down and talk, but it'll be a foundational process that you will value going forward, I promise you. We came up with a statement of purpose. The Advanced Hermantown Initiative is an effort to ensure a successful future for our community. It is people from all walks of life who care deeply about our community. We think Hermantown's best days are ahead of us. We want you to help us define our future and what we need to collectively to achieve that future. We believe the only way we can get there is by all agreeing where we are going and destiny, and working to create a community of choice. Now, I'm going to take issue with that statement later in my talk because it isn't quite totally accurate, and we'll talk about that. All right, so the first thing we did a snapshot of our community to find out how people see Hermantown. What are our strengths? What are our vulnerabilities? How do you feel about safety? How do you feel about the schools? How do you feel about the businesses in the area? Just get a snapshot of where they think we are at. And we also did a profile of everyone in terms of demographics, the age, income levels, and so forth. So we built a database, factual database. It was a 45-question questionnaire that we used. Quite lengthy, but we received a ton of responses, and it was very interesting. A couple of the responses that we received that we found fascinating, although it didn't surprise us, was 19% of the respondents agreed or strongly agreed that the city of Hermantown had a clear vision. We had a need to work together. They also found that 39% agreed or strongly agreed that the Hermantown leaders work together. Clearly, problem. Then asked about the schools, coming off the bond referendum. 75% were happy or satisfied with the school education. Great, right? However, 63% were either unsatisfied or very unsatisfied with the quality of educational facilities. Clearly a message from the community to us. And then we created focus groups. We went wide and deep on this. We went to every organization you can think about, and we asked them 3 simple questions. 1, what do you like about Hermantown? 2, what do you want to keep about Hermantown? And 3, what would you do if you were king or queen? That was our favorite question. Because now you're starting to elicit emotional responses. How do you feel about this community? And what would you give 10, 15, 20 years? What would you like to see your community look like? That was fun to tabulate. But what this survey and the focus groups established for us was a basis of objective knowledge about the people that live there. It wasn't opinion, it wasn't a wish or an agenda, it was objective knowledge that we could work off of. This is the groups that we went through. It was very vast, it took a long time, but it was actually a lot of fun too. And we had more meetings, as you will. We came up with our 9 destiny drivers based upon the information that was done through the research and the focus group. And this is a great way to go, folks, because nobody can question you about what you're doing if it's factual. because that's what the people have wanted. That's what they have put out there. The 9 drivers are actually in your packet, so I'm not going to go through all of these. We have had great success for a lot of them, and some of them not such good success. Some of them have been shelved. But the point that I always emphasize with people is this is an organic process. And you're going to get results and you're going to get effort where people have the will to make a difference. The 2 areas that came out as being the top areas was, of course, the educational facilities. And then the second one was the a gathering spot, because we don't have a downtown. We basically don't have an identity as a community. When people are asked, where do you live? They say Duluth. They don't even know where the boundaries are. That's how lacking the identity is. So we started with the first one, and it's morphed off into a whole nother group. It was called Hawk Pride, the likes of which has never been seen in this community. It was a campaign for success, but they followed the model that the stewards followed, because it was an extension of, by going out to the community and saying, okay, what do you want in a school? What is important? So the school actually reflects the wishes of the community. Novel thought, right? Considering that only 27% of the households in this community have children, how do you pass a bond referendum? You better tap into the community. And then they created the campaign, and it was vast, it was wide, it was deep, and it was passionate. I've got a couple of pictures of some of the things they had for the signs, the logos. They had lots of gatherings, demonstrations, press, media. It was an amazing thing to watch. And in 2013, the voters approved the $48 million bond referendum. Now, part of the difference was they engaged the community, including the business community, because our chamber on the first bond referendum, we opposed it. It was like a death sentence. And it fractured our community. It created so much ill will, I can't even tell you. This time around, they engaged the business community as well as the greater community, and they dropped the price of the referendum by $10 million by just focusing on what we need to accomplish at the school, not what we want. So the engagement levels was the key. Sean, right? Sean told me that if it gets boring, she's going to stand up and yell, so thank you for doing that. All right, so that was 2013, success story. So what now? We went to our second priority, identify a community gathering spot. We created we morphed off into another group called the Arrowhead Regional Health and Wellness Center. A little bigger picture, it's a regional picture. What we identified was, yes, we need a gathering spot in Hermantown, but St. Louis County statistically is 75th out of the 87 counties in Minnesota for life expectancy and health outcomes. Clearly, we're not doing something right. And I suspect that most of that is rural. So what we looked at is southern St. Louis County and saying, how can we satisfy the needs of all the constituents in that area, including Hermantown? And we had a conversation with the YMCA. YMCA was like, yes, we're all about it. We want to do this. We are now in the process of engaging this. This is our statement of purpose. We have a comprehensive facility for all the residents, all ages. This is our region that we're looking at, all of southern St. Louis County, and this is the support we have. The value, and this was mentioned earlier, for collaboration. When you build collaboration with 16 townships, you think the politicians are going to listen to you? We had so much support, it was unbelievable, because the base of support, base of engagement was so high. This is just an artist rendering. It's not put together yet. We just passed, well, the city council is going to pass the RFP for who's going to do this on October 6th. The Minnesota State Legislative Body, through Senator Bach, thank you very much, and Mary Murphy, passed a bonding resolution to grant us $250 for seed money of planning purposes. Nice path to be on, because we're looking at a $14 million project here. And in order to make it happen, we're going to have a minimal $7 million from the state of Minnesota. To get the Senator Bach on board was a big deal, so that support made a big difference. Back to these drivers. Again, all of them have levels of success. If you look at the one up here on the creative vision of Highway 13, it's spun off where the city took care of it. And again, this will morph in ways that you can't predict. The city has now developed a plan for the Hermantown Marketplace, and for those of you who are familiar with the area on 53, this is Walmart right up here, and Sam's Club right down there. This whole block is going to be like our new downtown. It won't be a downtown, but it'll be a developed area. And so that's another product of the steward's work. Okay, the statement of purpose. I'm coming back to this for a reason. And what I said was I wanted to correct something. It was this right here. That the only way we can get there is by all agreeing on where we are going. We're not going to all agree. At the end, you're going to have opposition, but on the other hand, if you have them part of the process, they'll understand that. You want to build consensus where the majority of people know this is the right way to go. And if you give people a voice in the process, those that oppose you'll neutralize at the very best. It's about consensus of the majority. All right, folks, as you talk about building your answers going forward, there's a few things that we learned, and again, I'm a little more nuts and bolts in this process, that we learned in the last 4 years. One, community above self. Please, 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 if you're going to be a steward, approach it that what is best for our community, our region. Disregard your job, disregard your associations, community first. If you do that, it'll keep pure. No hidden agendas and no ego leads. Second, you will not be able to predict either the answer or the process. It will surprise you. There are things that are going to happen that you have no idea about right now. And that's the fun of it. Because there's resources and collaborations that are going to come up and jump into your hand, and you're going to go, hallelujah, we're halfway home, Lord. 3, be intentional in leadership and in invitation to engage. Leadership, being a steward doesn't necessarily mean being a leader. You can be a contributor, you can be a soldier. To be a leader, we need somebody that has capacity to be able to handle the responsibility of it. So being intentional about that. And it usually involves a steering committee or a leadership group. Invitation to engage. This is a busy world we're in now. 2-income families, and kids, and hockey, and everything else. You need to call people with certain talents, or call as many people as you can, but specifically certain people with talent. So say you need a marketing person, you call up Jane and say, you know what, Jane, the community needs you. That's how you're going to get those people to plug in. To put a poster on the wall or an ad in the paper isn't going to do it. Although you guys did pretty well tonight, but you're going to need to make a personal invite to get those engagements. 4, look for passion. I love being in a meeting and I see somebody just like, and then they're asking a question and you go, yes, I'm going to talk to that person because they care. They have some passion about this subject. Look for that passion, plug that person in. And if it's somebody that's opposing or even difficult to work for, look for that too. Because you need to talk to those people to better understand their position and for them to better understand yours. 5, the power of collaboration, both individually and organizationally. We talked about this in terms of the Arrowhead Regional Health and Wellness Center, bringing in the townships, bringing in St. Louis County, bringing in the politicians.
building that circle of support is very, very powerful. Look for your partners. 6, it was brought up earlier, transparency. Be as open as possible about this. Make sure it's public, make sure anybody can know about it, anybody can come, because if you don't, it'll be a cancer that'll kill you. Be transparent. And 7th, this is just awesome. A focused community can move mountains. It's amazing what that power can do. You are at a great intersection right now. And by what I'm looking at out here, the number of people here, I would suspect those arrows are all going to point in the same direction. And I would suspect this region, I can't wait for another year, 2 years, to hear what mountains you're going to move by working together and the power of that collaboration. Thank you very much.